is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, if will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, if will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Or stare into the unknown, 'cause you're a strong girl. You got this, I feel the fight in you. Strong girl, positive, you're gonna see this through. Like a straight up miracle, you're a force to behold. In the face of losing the race, you still go for the goal.
down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, if I'll ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high, even if the sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Love is Greater Than Fear Spiritual Center. I am Reverend Derek, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to get together with all of you this morning as we continue July's series on spiritual masters. So last Sunday, we talked about Jesus. I shared some great photos that I took in Israel while I was visiting there last month. And so we're just doing a whole series on spiritual masters. It's going to be fun. It's going to be informative. I have a lot to share with you guys today. Before we do get into today's topic, I do just want to share 2 books with you real quick. So this book, 12 Major World Religions, if you are interested in learning more about different world religions, I really suggest this book. It's really simple. It's got pictures. It's also very detailed and accurate. And if you find that you enjoy what we talk about today, we're going to be talking about the life of Buddha. And if you find that some of this stuff resonates with you, as I mentioned last week, I consider myself religiously polyamorous. So, sometimes I'm reading Buddhism, sometimes I'm reading Islam, whatever it might be. If that appeals to you, I want to recommend this book. So this is by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's called The Heart of Buddhist Teachings. This was the first book on Buddhism I ever read, and it was just really, really powerful. Read it in my early 20s. You can find it on Amazon. Again, that's Thich Nhat Hanh. So if you do find that today's message resonates with you and you want to learn more about Buddha or Buddhism, both of those books are a great resource to do that. So for those of you who are new, who have yet to watch one of our videos and attend one of our services, I want to start by sharing a couple things, including a couple quick announcements. So what is the Love is Greater Than Fear Spiritual Center? We are a virtual spiritual center founded in November of last year. And every Sunday we get together for spiritual talks and a meditation based on universal spiritual principles. No doctrine, no dogma here. This is not a religious conversation. This is a spiritual inquiry that I hope will help you in your own personal awakening. And as our vision is to be a spiritual place for personal and planetary awakening. Our mission, to support awakening by living and teaching universal spiritual principles of love, peace, and joy. We do this by offering classes, workshops, and counseling that promotes the healing and transformation necessary for our personal and planetary awakening. Who is welcome here? Our community is for all of God's children, regardless of your gender, your race, your sexual orientation, your nationality, your religious background, your political affiliation, or any other seeming difference. We believe that all of God's children deserve a life of peace, love, freedom, and creative expression. We also believe in dismantling the thought systems of fear that would hinder any person's purpose on earth. We also believe in love and equality for all. A little bit more about who we are. So we reject the idea that there's only one path to God. We celebrate every life. We believe we are stronger together. We believe prayer and meditation can transform any life, and we believe that love is greater than fear. Join with me this morning. We're going to say our spiritual declaration together. I surrender this day to God that he may lead me to deeper peace, greater love, and fuller life expression. I surrender all my fears and desires to him. I ask that he show me the path from fear to love. Amen. So if you find that after today's service that you need a little extra spiritual guidance, I want to share with you a couple different resources we have for you on our website, loveisgreaterthanfear.org. If you need prayer assistance, you can find that right there on our website. We will pray for you every day for 30 days. We also offer 2 ongoing classes. So we have a class on spiritual awakening and a class on healing the inner child. These are 8-week spiritual transformational programs. This combines a teleconference, video calls weekly. It also combines that with some meditations and some prayer practices and a really cool workbook to help you work through any issues that you might have going on. These are $250 for the 8-week program. Scholarships are available for people who cannot pay. We've also got Accessing Inner Wisdom. So if you find you've got something going on in your life, maybe you have a job loss, maybe you're grieving, maybe you have a relationship change or challenge, if something going on in your life and you find that you need some clarity, we have a Accessing Inner Wisdom. This is a counseling session that, unlike typical coaching and counseling where we're gonna like dig into what's going on, this is strictly a 60-minute meditative process. It's going to help you access your own inner wisdom and get your own answers for what is the best thing for you to do. You can get more information about that on the website as well. And I'm really excited to announce this. So we are going to start our first A Course in Miracles weekly study group. So this is going to start Tuesday, July 19th at 6 o'clock. So if you're not on the email list already, go join the email list, register for the weekly discussion groups. I will be sending out more information about how you're going to be able to join that and participate. This is a free study group. The only thing that is suggested is that, that you are a student of A Course in Miracles. You don't have to have been studying it for months or even years, but that you have the book and that you're open to learning more about A Course in Miracles. That's the only requirement. Well, and obviously you need to have a copy of the book. I'll be sending out weekly readings for us to take a look at, and then we'll be getting together and sharing our own personal insights with each other from what we're learning as we study A Course in Miracles. My goal with these study groups is to help us deepen in our understanding of A Course in Miracles, but also to help us, we've been talking this year about a year of miracles, and we were talking in January about a miracle mindset. So the goal here in these study groups is to be able to help you facilitate miracles in your life. So if you got something going on, you're looking for some miracles, definitely show up to that. Again, register for the email list if you want updates on that. And you can register for that at loveisgreaterthanfear.org. Also, remember, you can find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Be sure to like, comment, share, all that fun stuff. And let's not jump ahead. So before we get into today's conversation about Buddha, let's go ahead and do our morning prayer. So if you feel comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes. We'll take a nice deep breath. So, dear God, we invite you into our minds and hearts this morning. We invite you into our lives, into this moment where we have the freedom to get together and have conversations about God, universe, spirituality, in a safe space, free of judgment. And dear God, I bless everyone who is watching right now and anyone who will watch the replay later. that whatever they need to hear, whatever they need to get, whatever they need to receive from today's message, that it is heard, that it is seen, that it is experienced, that it is felt, that whatever anyone brings to the table today, whatever burden anyone has, they watch this message, that this conversation creates a miracle for them. And we bless everyone who is gathered this morning to celebrate the God of their understanding, whether they gather in a church or a mosque, a temple, their home, wherever they gather. We send them our love. We send them our peace. We send them our joy. And furthermore, we send that love to everyone in our community and beyond. Remembering that we are all one in the mind of God, and that when one of us heals, the whole world transforms. I call today's talk good and very good, knowing full well that whatever needs to be experienced by anyone watching today, that it is experienced. Dear God, bless our center, bless everyone watching, bless our world. And together we say, Amen. So thanks again for joining us this morning. So today, excuse me, today we are going to be talking about Siddhartha Gautama, aka the Buddha. So this month we're going to be talking about a variety of spiritual masters. Last week we talked about Jesus. This week we're talking about Buddha. Next week we're going to talk about Muhammad. And I love talking about these characters because they're very powerful. They're very interesting. They come with a lot of, for me, I'm just so fascinated by the culture. I'm fascinated by the history. I'm always fascinated by what other people believe, especially all around the world. But the thing about these people that we're talking about, these spiritual masters, is, you know, you could hear the story of Jesus and it could just be a story to you, you know, a story that Christians tell at Christmas time. Or you could hear the story of Jesus and it could have a deeply transformative effect on who you are as a person and your spiritual path. Now, that same thing is also true for Buddha. Buddha is a powerful figure. So today we're going to be exploring his story. I do tend to keep these talks to be about the spiritual master and their life and what they taught. I don't want to get caught up in how people interpret what they taught and the various institutions that surround it. I don't think that helps us. What does help us is knowing the story of Buddha and how we can take the things that Buddha taught in his life, how we can apply that to our life. So one of the main things that Buddha taught was non-attachment, that our suffering stems very deeply from the way we attach ourselves to things. So if you're wondering if today's talk, if you're going to get anything out of it, well, let me ask you, do you got any suffering going on in your life? Are there some situations that you're really attached to that are disturbing and disrupting your inner peace? Some relationships, some job challenge, a health issue, something in your relationships, I already said that, but something like that. Odds are you probably are experiencing some kind of challenge like that. And so I think today's talk is going to be really important for those of us who find ourselves very attached to outcomes, attached to people, and attached to results, and whatever it might be. This is where I think the biggest area where Buddha helps us. So let's venture back to what is today Libani, Nepal. So we're going to venture back some 2,500 years ago, 500 years before Christ was born, to India. Now, 12 years before Buddha was born, it was prophesied that one of two things would happen with Siddhartha Gautama when he was grown, that he would either become a great king of the world, not just a great king of his kingdom, but a great king of the world, or he would become a sage. And that's what was predicted. 12 years later, he's born. His parents, especially his dad, is thinking, I don't like this. This guy needs to grow up to be a king. I want him to be a great king. I don't want him to be some kind of ascetic. I want him to be a great king. So what does Buddha's dad do? Well, his name at this time is Siddhartha. What does Siddhartha's dad do? To avoid him becoming an ascetic, he keeps him in the palace. So Siddhartha never leaves the palace. He's in the palace all the time, where he's surrounded by luxury and worldly pleasures. He's a rich kid, you know? Think about a rich kid today living in Beverly Hills and all the advantages and the things that they have. He had all that stuff. He had money. He had great food. His dad kept anything that might tempt him to seek deeper meaning. He kept that away from him, meaning that he kept him away from anything that his dad saw as ugly, kept him away from any type of sickness, kept him away from poverty, didn't let him see older people. So just any of like the things his dad thought was ugly in the world, didn't let him see, didn't let him experience. He thought if he could keep him in those palace walls, keep him distracted with beautiful women and great food and doing his studies, and also he was an archer, he was an athlete, just keep him doing all of those things, that Siddhartha would not become a sage. Now, eventually Siddhartha marries, he has a son, he has everything, as we would consider having everything today. But something continued stirring in him, and he wanted to see life beyond the palace walls. So at the age of 29, with the permission of his father, he ventures out beyond the palace walls. A charioteer takes him out, and he witnesses the 4 sights. These are the 4 sights that are going to have an impact on him and move him in the direction of becoming a sage and not a great king. The first thing he saw was an elderly man. He had never seen an elderly man before. The next thing he saw was a sick person. He had never seen sickness before at 29 years old. And the third thing he saw was a dead body. Now imagine being like this wealthy prince, this young man. All you've ever experienced are the worldly pleasures. You know nothing of sickness and death and disease and all that stuff. And you see it for the first time at the age of 29. Now, after experiencing that, on his way back to the palace, he sees an ascetic man. So he sees this sage, and he begins to think, maybe this sage, maybe there's another way of living that I can avoid getting old and getting sick and dying. And while he's thinking about all of this, he's not just thinking about himself, but he's thinking about his wife. He's thinking about his son. He's thinking about all of the people in his kingdom. It's this huge realization for him. Oh my gosh, these people are going to get sick and people are going to die. And a lot of them are poor. And this is a tragedy to him. It's devastating to him. So this fills him with a mission, urgently with a mission, to find a way to end suffering. So in the middle of the night, Siddhartha Gautama, at 29 years old, silently says goodbye to his wife and child and leaves the palace once more. When he gets to the edge of the forest, he takes out a sword, he cuts his long hair, he takes off his royal, probably really expensive clothing, and exchanges it for simple ascetic robes. He joins a group of men, this type of Indian group of men who have left Indian society to go find liberation. He starts studying with different gurus, but he's really challenged with the ways that they practice asceticism. He's really challenged with what they're doing because he's not finding the liberation that he is looking for. While living with these people, he's learning to meditate. And there's a lot more that goes into this part of the story that we don't have time for today. But eventually, he finds himself starving himself to be able to have mind over his, the power of his mind over his body. He's starving himself. He's only eating 1 grain of rice a day. And for 6 years, he lives like this. For 6 years, he lives on 1 grain of rice a day. I couldn't do that for 1 day, but that's how he lives. And after doing this for 6 years, he's like, this just isn't working. You've probably seen the, sometimes you see a really chubby Buddha. That's when he becomes enlightened and he's full of joy and light. But the rest of the images of Buddha, he's just really, really thin. At this point, after 6 years of eating like that, his bones are sticking out. He is not well. he decides he wants to eat more food and give up this ascetic lifestyle. So he leaves these 5 companions behind. He ventures into a village where he encounters a woman who feeds him milk and honey. So he drinks this milk, he eats this honey, and his strength returns. But he has not given up. He still wants to find the end of suffering because he doesn't want to suffer. He wants to break that cycle. He wants to break that cycle for his wife and for his child and for his extended family, for his kingdom. He wants to figure out, how do we get off of this wheel of suffering? So he goes and sits under this Bodhi tree. And this is probably part of the story you're all familiar with the most. He sits under the Bodhi tree and decides, I'm going to sit right here until I achieve enlightenment and get what I'm looking for. He sits right there, doesn't move. On the 6th day, his third eye opens and he begins to receive spiritual messages and instruction, and he begins to experience peace. After 49 days, he is transformed from Siddhartha Gautama to Buddha, the enlightened one, the awakened one. He now knows how to overcome suffering. Now, at this point, he begins teaching and begins his, what we would call a ministry. And he starts teaching what he learned sitting under that tree. Now, what's really interesting about the 49 days under the tree, Jesus prayed for 40 days in the Garden of Gethsemane. Moses and the Jews wandered for 40 days in the desert. There's always this significance to numbers, especially, right around the number 40 is really popular as well. Now, what's interesting about the number 40 in Hebrew is that the number 40 and the phrase many days are the same thing. So in the Bible, when we're telling stories about, someone went and did this for 40 days or for, whatever it might be, in their language, it actually means many days. So I was pretty fascinated by this 49 days. I don't know how that's translated, and I'm just curious if there's any more significance there. I didn't come across that in my research, but still the idea is that, for you and I, maybe we can't go sit for 49 days under a Bodhi tree and pray, but whatever time is allotted that we can sit in stillness to help us transform our own personal and individual lives and suffering. So let's talk about what Buddha taught. So during this time that Buddha is teaching, he teaches the 4 noble truths, okay? So you've probably heard these before. Number 1, life is suffering. So right off the bat, these are not going to be fun. It's not a fun noble truth. Life is suffering, right? If you're alive, suffering is inevitable for you. Number 2, suffering is due to desire. So it's our desires, it's our cravings, it's our attachments to things that cause us pain and suffering. The 3rd noble truth is that the cure exists, and the cure is in letting go. Now, the 4th noble truth, and this is the predominant aspect of his teaching that Buddha would teach the most. This is a focus of his ministry, is walking the Eightfold Path. So just as if you went to a doctor and you said to a doctor, I have a broken bone, the doctor is going to reset that broken bone. He's going to give you some medication. He's going to prescribe some things for you for that broken bone. So Buddha, like all great spiritual masters, are very much like a physician. They're going to see, yeah, you are suffering, and this is what's causing your suffering. And here is the cure. Here is the prescription to ending your suffering. That prescription is the Eightfold Path. Let's talk about that Eightfold Path. So, before I talk about this, I just want to say that, so far, all of this is very much a Course in Miracles. This is not a religion. In fact, when you're studying this as a religion, people frequently, very often say, this is not a religion. This is a philosophy. It's a type of psychology. It's a way of living. It is not a religion because it's not really inundated with doctrine and dogma. But also, there is no deity in Buddhism. So this is very much like A Course in Miracles. What I love about A Course in Miracles is that, and I heard Marianne Williamson say this in a talk the other day, that it's the language is Christic, the feel of A Course in Miracles is Buddhist, and the delivery is Jewish. So it's just really fascinating to me that like so much of what we're about to take a look at here in the Eightfold Path is this is all very much true in A Course in Miracles. The only thing that's different is just the language. So the Eightfold Path includes 8 different things that we must do the right way. So number 1 is right understanding. So basically, right understanding means that you have a good understanding of suffering and the 4 truths. So this is the first and foremost, most important part, is that you have understanding of why you suffer. If you're going through life and you don't understand that suffering is inevitable and what causes suffering and how to cure it, well, then life's going to be really hard. So right understanding. The next thing he taught was right thought. So right thought means turning away from the thoughts of ego, basically thoughts of craving, thoughts of desire, thoughts of envy, thoughts of jealousy, and turning from those thoughts towards thoughts of self-improvement and ethics. We've also got right speech. So another phrase often used for right speech is wise speech. So using words that heal, words of love, words of compassion, words that lift others up, not using your words to destroy people, to hurt people, to cause pain. We've also got right action. So right action includes abstaining from killing, from stealing, and from sexual misconduct. We've got right livelihood. So right livelihood means finding a way of living that does not compromise the 5 precepts. So there's these things called the 5 precepts in Buddhism: not killing any living being, not stealing, refrain from too much sensual pleasure, refrain from wrong speech, refrain from toxins that cloud the mind. So far, a lot of this is very much like the 10 Commandments, right? Don't lie, don't steal, don't kill, right? It's basically the same stuff. We also got right effort. So right effort is about challenging yourself to improve and letting go of any characteristic defects you might have. If you tend to be a jealous person, if you tend to be an envious person, just letting all of that go and focusing on becoming, growing yourself, improving yourself. Buddha also taught right mindfulness. So I'm going to read a quote I was from one of the books I was reading this weekend about Buddhism, about mindfulness. So to be mindful is to be fully present, not lost in daydreams, anticipation, indulgences, or worry. Mindfulness also means observing and releasing habits of mind that maintain the illusion of a separate self. This includes dropping the mental habit of judging everything according to whether we like it or not. I'm going to repeat that, okay? This includes dropping the mental habit of judging everything according to whether we like it or not. Last but not least, the 8th path is right concentration. So basically, this means meditate, right? Right concentration is meditation. Now, in Buddhism, they have something called the 4 absorptions. This is a type of meditative practice that focuses on a single object. If you want to learn more about the Buddhist forms of meditation, you can Google 4 absorptions or check out the book, The Heart of Buddha's Teachings by Thich Nhat Hanh. So that is the crux of what Buddha taught. Now, Buddha, I want to circle back to when I was talking earlier about his wife and child, right? So here he is at 29 years old. He leaves his wife, he leaves his son to go find himself. Now, some critics might call him, I read, what did it say? That he was like the original deadbeat dad for leaving his family like that. And I was just like, I get why they say that. So I got really curious. Did he go back to his wife and child? What did he do? And so I read that after his enlightenment, the first thing he did was go back to the palace. And he was encouraged by people not to do that. Why would you go back to your wife? Why? It's been 12 years. Why would you go back to try and see her? Why can't you let go of the past? But he kept thinking she's going to be so angry, right? It was a silent goodbye. She had no idea where he went, and he just left. So he decides, I have to go see my wife. So he goes to see his wife. And imagine for a moment your lover, your spouse has left you for 12 years with no explanation. You're going to be angry, right? So he gets back and she is so angry at him. She is so angry at him, and he tells her where he had been and how sorry he was, and how he had been ignorant. He had been ignorant and been blind, and it wasn't the right thing to do. And after she kind of gets over her anger, she starts talking to him and learning about, where he was and what he was doing. And she said, you didn't think that of all the wives in the world, of all the people in the world, I'm someone you could have told that you needed to go do this, and I would have understood. Again, he says, I am so sorry. I was so blind. And then she goes on to ask him, well, tell me this. Could you not have achieved this goal of enlightenment here in the palace? And he thought about that. And he said to her, I absolutely could have achieved this here in the palace. Because enlightenment is not in the forest. It's not in starving yourself. Enlightenment is not someplace beyond where you are right now. Enlightenment is something that happens in your core. I thought that was so beautiful. I really loved reading that story about him. Now, I am not a Buddhist scholar, but from what I've read, after that moment, his wife and his son and his extended family would become his disciples. And they would go on to teach the Noble Truths and go on to teach the Eightfold Path themselves. Now, Buddha would continue teaching for another 45 years. And at the age of 80, he would pass on from this plane. Now, he's left a huge impact on the world. Approximately, there are 6.7% of the world practice Buddhism. That equals some 500 million followers worldwide, primarily in Asia, but all around the world. Now, as I was saying earlier, it is very much argued that Buddhism is not a religion. It is a philosophy. It is a type of psychology that gives someone mental habits and tools for experiencing inner peace in this chaotic world. Now, what does that sound like? That sounds like A Course in Miracles. Just like A Course in Miracles, it's not a religion, it's not a doctrine. It's all about personal accountability and practice. And like in A Course in Miracles, inner peace is achieved by turning away from ego, which is synonymous with attachment, toward God, which is synonymous with love. So I want you to take a moment, and now that you've heard this story about Buddha, are there some things in your, how can you take this story and apply it to your life? Do you tend to think enlightenment and inner peace and the life you desire is somewhere beyond your reach? Maybe it's in another city, it's in another state, it's in another country, maybe it's at a different job, maybe it's in a different relationship, some different place. And can you accept now that it isn't going to be found in any of those places, because enlightenment, peace, joy, love, perfection, the truth of who you are can only be found within your core? And are there some places in your life where you kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, make your suffering worse because you don't use right speech, and you don't meditate, and you don't have right action, or maybe even a right livelihood or right understanding? I like the focus there on right understanding. And I don't think that only applies to Buddhism. That applies to A Course in Miracles. That applies to Christianity. That applies to Judaism. If you don't have the basic understanding of who you are and why you're here and what's going on in the world around us from a spiritual perspective, it's going to make you so much more likely to suffer. So there's a lot of powerful stuff that you can take from this and apply to your life. You can decide right now that you are going to daily dedicate yourself to understanding your spiritual practice more. You can decide right now that when those thoughts of loneliness, anxiety, and depression pop up and judgment, you're going to turn away towards compassion. You're going to redirect your thinking to thoughts of love and thoughts of peace. You can decide right now that you're going to use wise speech. You're not going to use your words as daggers to attack people, but instead you're going to use your words to lift people up, to remind people of the truth of who they are, remind people that they are loved, that they are not alone. Use your words to guide people, and so on and so forth, constantly challenging yourself to become a better person and not be so attached to things. One of the biggest reasons attachment causes us so much pain is because nothing in the world is permanent. So of course, if you're attached to something that you know is not permanent, you are going to suffer. I did have a quote I wanted to share with you guys. And I guess I lost it. Where is it? Okay, so I heard Marianne. I can't remember who said this. Okay, I was so bad at taking my notes yesterday. I was watching a video on Buddhism, and it might have been Marianne Williamson. It might not have been. But they said, you can't catch a running stream. And I thought that was such a powerful way of looking at our attachments to things. If you're out there, you're feeling competitive and you're trying to get this job and you're trying to be successful in the material world as the material world defines success, it's like you're out there trying to catch a running stream, something you will never be able to do. So I just thought that was wonderful. I wanted to share that with you guys. And then one other quote I saw, I don't remember who this was from either, but your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own thoughts. That was another Buddhist quote I found. So what we're going to do now, and again, I do encourage you, if you want to read more about Buddha or Buddhism, both of these books are fantastic. What we're going to do now is we're going to do our morning meditation. And so this is an important part, right? Right concentration is a part of the Eightfold Path, aka it's a part of the curing you of your sense of separation, your anxiety, your depression, your attachments, your loneliness, whatever your fears may look like to you. So we're going to go into our meditative time. So if you feel comfortable, I invite you to go ahead and get comfortable in your chair, relax back in your seat. And I invite you to go ahead and take a couple deep breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Take one more deep breath. The reason deep breathing works is it slows down the mind so your true self can actually think and you're not distracted by thoughts of ego. After we take those couple deep breaths, just let our breathing return to normal. And we just let go of any worry or any concerns we have. Let go of any expectations for this morning's meditation. Just continuing to relax. And any sounds or distractions we hear, we just let those push us deeper and deeper into our meditation. Allowing our bodies to relax, relaxing the muscles around our face, our skull, feeling that relaxation start to pour over our shoulders, down our chest, our arms. Relaxation just continues pouring down through our abdomen, throughout our thighs, down our legs. The relaxation extends beyond our toes and fingers. And everything is well in this moment. We don't try to control our thinking. Just let thoughts come and go. No judgment. And we're just going to sit here in the stillness for a moment, just focusing on our breathing. Now I invite you to call to mind a place in your life where you are not at peace. You've probably already thought about it this morning, but wherever it is in your life that you are suffering, doesn't matter if this is perceived as a small suffering or a big suffering, for all suffering is equally a disturbance to our inner peace. So call to mind whatever this area is, whether it's your health, a relationship, money, job, anything to do with politics of the world. And as you call that place to mind, I invite you to ask yourself, where am I attached here? Where do I have expectations? Where do I believe that things need to go a certain way? Where am I attached to results? And this is not a place for judgment. We just want to take an honest look at where we are attached. And take another moment just looking at the ways you might be mentally, emotionally, physically attached to something, to someone, to some result. And now ask yourself, am I willing to let go? Am I willing to let go of the thoughts, the words, the mental inertia, any actions that are involved here? And I can only assume that you are, in fact, ready to let go of this place where you're suffering. So now we pray. Dear God, we invite you once again into our minds and hearts. We ask you to come into this situation, this circumstance where we are not at peace, dear God, this place where we suffer. We ask you to come in and to help us let go of any attachments that are causing this suffering. Any thoughts, any words, any actions, any place where we are attached to this situation, dear God. Please help us to let go. In fact, we surrender this situation to you. We surrender this circumstance, whatever it might be, to you, dear God. And that by joining our minds with yours, that your light will shine down on whatever this form of suffering is, and you will create a miracle, dear God. Where there is fear, let it be replaced with love. Where there is judgment, let it be replaced with compassion. Where we are poor, let us be abundant. Where we are sick, let us heal. Dear God, wherever we suffer, let us be at peace. And we thank you, dear God, and we hand this over to you. Together we say, Amen. So as you feel comfortable, you can begin to bring your attention back to the room, wiggling your toes, moving around in your chair, opening your eyes. So I thank you for taking some time to listen today to me talk about Buddha. I hope you appreciated the history lesson. I hope that you walked away with one or two nuggets today of wisdom that will help you throughout the week. I absolutely know that that prayer and that meditation will have a dramatic effect on your life this week. Now, that's one of our core things we believe here at the Love is Greater Than Fear Center. And what I teach is that prayer and meditation can transform any life, no matter who you are, what you've done, what you've been through, no matter your color, your gender, none of that, your political affiliation, none of that matters. prayer and meditation can heal any mind and heart and deliver all of us to inner peace. Before we wrap up, I just want to take a moment and remind you that if you are looking for some additional next steps, don't forget to check out our website at loveisgreaterthanfear.org, where you can submit a prayer request. You can take a look at our classes, our counseling sessions, and then also remember, we're starting our A Course in Miracles weekly discussion group on July 19th at 6 o'clock. If you haven't already registered, please do. It's all on the website. I'll share some links in the comments below and here after we're done. And then be sure to like, comment, and share. The odds are really high that there's someone on your social media that could benefit from a talk like this. There's probably someone out there who finds himself very much attached to something, and this story about Buddha could really, really help them. So be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff if you feel so called to. And so next Sunday, excuse me, next Sunday, we're talking about the life of Muhammad. I'm excited to talk about him. It's always tricky and uncomfortable talking about Islam. I do like Islam. I do like the Quran. I love the story of Muhammad. It's just a fantastic story. And I believe that there are things about the story and the life of Muhammad that can absolutely benefit us here hundreds, thousands of years later, however long it's been, just like the story of Buddha and just like the story of Christ. So I'm super excited to talk to you guys next Sunday about the life of Muhammad. Now, one last thing before we go. Our center is funded. So I want to update you guys real quick on our nonprofit status. The initial paperwork has been submitted. So I'm just going through doing all the paperwork part, getting all that stuff set up so that we can get the 501c3 and be a legit nonprofit. Now, having said that, our entire spiritual center relies entirely on your generous donations. You guys have helped out so much. You guys helped out so much with paying for submitting applications for the nonprofit. But on top of that, your donations also help pay for things like the website, any marketing that we do, the softwares they are involved in putting on the services every Sunday. But also your donations are helping the future of the center. So not just did it pay for nonprofit status that we're getting, but also having future live events and eventually a building. And it also helps us pay for, some people can't afford the counseling classes. Your donations helps so that we can do that for them as well. So if you do feel called to make a donation to our center, you can do that on PayPal. Just type in @loveisgreatercenter, and you can set up a one-time contribution. You can set up monthly contributions there as well. So that's @loveisgreatercenter on PayPal. I'll drop the links down below here shortly. Love you guys. It's been amazing. I will see you next Sunday. And until then, love one another. Bye.